Our final presentation, to me, is a great example of how soft the boundaries are becoming between different industries. And I think it's one of the most inspiring stories happening right now in Oregon. It is a beautiful intersection between the bioscience industry, the high-tech industry, higher ed, and how those three components are coming together in a way that could revolutionize some of the major health issues in our time. And I would love to bring to the stage at this time Dr. Brian Druker to share with us what's going on at the Knight Cancer Institute.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you very much for the opportunity to share our vision for how we plan to defeat cancer. As some of you may have heard, we've been issued a fundraising challenge by Phil and Penny Knight, and perhaps there's no better way to introduce this than to share with you the surprise announcement that Mr. Knight made a couple of months ago at our Knight Cancer Institute event.
As I speak, there is a grandfather, a mother, a child who hugs a loved one. Hugs a loved one he or she would not be able to hug if it were not for Brian Druker. It is incumbent on everyone in this room to do what he can to keep the miracles coming. And I speak to myself as well as to all of the rest of you. Accordingly, I make the following pledge. Penny and I will donate $500 million to OHSU if it is matched in pledges within 2 years in a fundraising campaign. Is there a higher calling than curing cancer? Is there a higher calling than curing cancer?
This announcement was part of Mr. Knight's introduction of me that evening. Now, I can promise you hardly anybody remembered a word I had to say that night, nor do I. But Mr. Knight's well-chosen words, such as it's incumbent upon each one of us to keep the miracles coming, or is there a higher calling than curing cancer, still resonate with us today. But before I go through the details of what we plan to accomplish with this incredible investment, I want to go back and share with you some of the backstory of what brought us to this historic moment. I came here from Harvard's Dana-Farber Cancer Institute 20 years ago because I believed there were better opportunities here in Oregon to make a difference in the fight against cancer. I believe the future of cancer research was targeting cancer cells without harming normal cells, and that to do that, we had to understand what drove the growth of cancer and to fix it. Now, at the time, there were not a lot of people that thought that was going to be possible. In fact, some people equated that with voodoo science. But it wasn't long after I arrived here that a compound I was working on in the lab showed incredible promise against a common form of leukemia. Now, it took me 5 years to convince the drug company Novartis to go to clinical trials. I wasn't just a researcher isolated in a lab. I was also a physician, and I had patients who desperately needed this life-saving medication. In 1998, we started clinical trials with this once-a-day pill. And in 6 months, every single one of our patients had their blood counts returned to completely normal. This drug received the fastest approval in the history of the FDA and appeared on the cover of Time magazine. As you can see from the caption, this revolutionary medicine has ushered in an entirely new era in our war on cancer. Today, patients who once had a life expectancy of 3 to 5 years are expected to live a normal lifespan. Gleevec turned a once fatal cancer into a manageable condition, and because of the work done here in Oregon, there are now hundreds of thousands of people who are alive because of that work. I was given an incredible opportunity 5 years ago. It was a beautiful day in September here in Oregon. The stock market had just crashed. And I received a phone call from Phil Knight asking if I was interested in $100 million for cancer research. Well, it wasn't quite that simple, but it did let us dream big. So I went looking for my Michael Jordan of cancer research and found Joe Gray. Joe Gray is an expert in genomics, helping us to understand the root causes of cancer so we can create better and more effective treatments. But Joe isn't just a great researcher. He also understands that we need to work with leaders in the business community to combine our expertise to quickly identify and develop new treatments for patients. He's already helped establish the relationship you heard about earlier with Intel. He's established another partnership with FEI, Hillsborough company, that makes high-end electron microscopes and sells them throughout the world. And there are many other relationships to come. When Joe moved here, he brought with him millions of dollars in federal grant funding and a team of 45 people that are now living and working in Oregon on cancer. As a direct result of the Knight gift, we brought 5-star cancer researchers to OHSU with over 140 faculty and research staff to work on cancer. At the Knight Cancer Institute, we pioneered targeted cancer therapy. No one imagined 20 years ago that we would revolutionize cancer research. But today, because of the work here, there are now hundreds of new treatments, thousands more in clinical development, and hundreds of thousands of lives that have been saved. But just as we did 20 years ago, it's now time for us to pioneer an entirely new area in cancer research, and that's the early detection of cancer. There are too many patients and their families that urgently need better treatments. And too often we begin the battle too late, after cancer has advanced. Our current approach is almost as if we say, let's wait until this gets really bad before we start treatment. At the Knight Cancer Institute, you recognize that the future lies in using the knowledge of what drives the growth of cancer to develop better means of early detection. By doing this, we'll find cancers at their earliest, most curable stages, and we will literally save millions of lives. But how we accomplish our goals is also unique. With a $1 billion investment, we will recruit 20 to 30 Joe Grays and their groups to Oregon. We'll focus these investigators to work as a team on identifying cancers at its earliest stages. They'll identify what needs to be detected and will determine how it needs to be detected. And in addition, we'll give them sufficient resources to allow them to innovate. What this means for Oregon is that we will create hundreds of traded sector jobs, more researchers, technicians, physicians, and their support staffs, and they'll be housed in buildings that still need to be built. It'll provide opportunities for collaborations with other higher education institutions in Oregon. And as we've already done, we'll continue to reach out to physicians around the state of Oregon to improve the quality of oncology care throughout our great state. And this will place Oregon and OHSU among the premier cancer research institutions in the entire country. But the success of what we accomplish won't be measured in new buildings, medical awards, or headlines. It will be measured in lives saved. Lives like Katie, who wasn't expected to live past age 11 and is now pursuing a career in nursing. When the history of the cure for cancer is written, Oregon will be the featured story. Someone once said that goals are dreams with a deadline. Our goal is to eradicate cancer. Our deadline is now. We revolutionize the way that cancer is treated, and with your help, we will do it once again with early detection. Thank you very much.